Welcome back to Detour to Neverland. Today is episode number 228. We're continuing our One Little Spark series. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Catherine.
And let's get into it. So welcome back. We are so happy to be back for another episode of Detour to Neverland. Like we said in the intro, today we're continuing our One Little Spark series. And what we're looking to do in this series is taking a look at different emotions. We've noticed something that as we have come down to live at Walt Disney World, we are starting to go to the parks with a purpose of trying to find a specific emotion. So today that emotion is determination. And Catherine, this is one that you thought of, right?
Yeah, I thought of this one, and I think it's really important because when you're working on a project or, at your job, whatever it might be, I think that requires, a lot of determination. And we look at that in a couple different lenses. We actually looked up the definition, and it was a firmness of purpose. So knowing maybe what your purpose is, kind of having that grit to get it done, and then, keeping your eye on the prize, you could say.
So what specific scenarios are you looking for determination, I guess, is one of my first questions for you, because I think that's maybe different for everybody on what exactly you're trying to get out of that.
Well, I'd say for me, it's more of like if I'm working on a project, if I have a goal for myself, sometimes it's even just like I have a lot on my to-do list and I'm determined to get it done. So, I think in the context that I was thinking about more so, it's, that you have a project or a goal that you're working towards and, you might need that extra push. So where can you go to maybe take a step back and give yourself the push that you need, to keep going?
See, I would agree. I think that for me, the biggest thing about determination is a lot of times there's an end goal or a result that you're looking for that's at the end of that. And you're trying to develop a plan in order to do that. And I do think there's a lot of things in Disney that help us get towards that goal. So we break it down into three different categories. Of course, we're doing in the parks, at home, and in the car. And I think in the car is an underrated category. I keep saying this every week. I don't know if you agree. Your commute is literally 45 seconds. So maybe in the car doesn't mean as much to you.
Yeah, my commute is pretty much non-existent. So it is a little different than for me. I'd say, to make up for my commute, I kind of use it as like my time in the morning to myself, like kind of the calm before the storm, like before the kids come in the classroom, kind of how can I get my mind right and prepared for the day. So to me, it's the same kind of thing because I don't really have the capacity or the time to look at anything or watch anything, but just, what kind of music can I play maybe in the morning to give me, whatever it is that I need.
So let's get started with in the parks, our first category. And I leaned a lot on attractions, I think, for this week. I think a lot of joy and a lot. What did we talk about last time? Peace. Joy and peace. A lot of were like areas or places to sit. With determination, there's more oomph to it and more action to it, I guess is maybe the best way to say it. So I started leaning on a lot of attractions and I can kick it off. First one I thought of was Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin.
And honestly, until you mentioned it, I did not think about this one at all. But then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. So what are you thinking? And then I can tell you what I'm thinking.
Well, I think it's first good to know we really, really suck at this ride.
Oh, we're so bad.
We are really historically bad at this ride. And so every time, it teeters on the area of like discouragement. But I do think there's a task at hand. You are given instructions and the rest you have to figure out on your own. So I do think it's sort of symbolic of what determination means, is that you have something that you're trying to do. You happen to be trying to defeat the evil Emperor Zurg.
That's a real world connection.
It absolutely is. And you can take that into your real life and apply it, that you might be really bad at something. You might suck like historically bad, but if you take the right steps, you can still improve upon it and get better.
And it it made me think of something that you mentioned earlier in the intro, where you're kind of forming a plan. So a lot, it's kind of sad how much we talk about these things before we do it, but we will form a plan. Okay. Who's going to steer the cart? What are we going to shoot for? Like, how can we get the most points? Because we've never gotten Galactic Hero before. It's very sad. But we do the same thing too on Midway Mania. Like, how can we work together? And I think that's kind of part of determination too. Like, who can you put in your corner to help you get the job done or help you reach your end goal? So we have to rely on each other a lot in forming that plan to reach the goal. And with a lot of goals, it takes a lot of time. We still haven't reached either of our goals to get like the highest score.
Well, and along those same veins, you can throw Toy Story Mania into this as well. I think there's a lot more teamwork that goes into Toy Story Mania. Wouldn't you say? Because a lot of times we have to work together to unlock the hidden things in Mania.
Yeah.
Whereas Buzz Lightyear is almost like every man for himself.
That's true.
To a certain extent. I mean, it's inevitable that whoever's not driving is going to start yelling at the driver at some point.
Or what I do, I just reach over and take it because you're not doing what I want.
So what's your next one on the parks?
So my next one, I went with Spaceship Earth. And I think it's because it is a really good, again, like a real world example of how far we've come just as a society and kind of the building blocks that took us to get there. And again, I think it's a good indication of it's not going to happen automatically. Like, look how long it took us to get to where we are now, but look at all the amazing things that we have. And I think for me, every time I ride it, it's kind of inspiring too, which I know isn't the emotion that we're going for this week, but it does help give you that push or that grit that maybe you need to keep going, even if something looks kind of impossible.
So Spaceship Earth made my list as well. And for a lot of the same thing, I think you get off of that ride and you almost have to feel determined, like that you can make an impact that could shape society. I mean, and it seems like it does a very good job of portraying that you can have that big of an impact, which I think is obviously the goal that they had in mind. So I leave that ride always feeling pumped up and like ready to tackle something big. Do you?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it's along those same lines. I think about not only going on the ride, but then like teaching about world history too. And like all the little details that go into it and all the side stories and all of the obstacles that had to be overcome. And I think, for us, if we were to apply it to Detour, like all of the things that we've overcome to get to where we are and the things that we're still pushing towards to reach our goals. I mean, I think it's a good parallel and it's a good way to kind of look ahead at maybe, whatever it is that you are determined to do.
So my next one in the parks was Dinosaur, which it's kind of the same thought process as some of these others. I know we're all on the same topic, but Dr. Seeker presents you with this challenge that he wants you to participate in.
It does seem impossible.
And you don't play the active role that you do as much in Spaceship Earth or in Space Ranger Spin or Mania, but it definitely seems insurmountable, and you have to take the steps necessary to achieve the end goal, which is getting Aladar back to the base. What do you call it? The present time?
Back to the lab.
Yeah.
It's a lab. Yeah.
Can you imagine the lab guy who found Aladar, the first one?
I mean, hopefully it's you who find him, right? I mean, that's your goal, is get out of the car and go find Aladar. I've
never found him.
I haven't either, but I can imagine it wouldn't be too hard to find him.
Do you think Dinosaur is a valid one?
I didn't understand what you said at first. I do. I mean, I think it fits with, there's a challenge, and even when things look hopeless and you're kind of roaming around in the dark and it's kind of chaotic, there's always, if you keep pushing, right, there's always that possibility that you're going to get what you want. You're going to reach your goal. So I think not letting some of those setbacks or some of those big challenges scare you away. And that's kind of what Dinosaur could be like.
What's next on your list?
Next on my list is Carousel of Progress. So for this one, I was mostly thinking about, Walt and his vision. If you think about Carousel of Progress and what it is, there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. I think when you have that determination, no matter which context you put determination into, I feel like it falls into that where you are trying to create something better. You're trying to, move yourself forward, and, you're always building upon what you did last. Like, I don't think in any situation that I can think of, you are determined to just stay the same. I mean, that's not much of a goal. So when I think about Carousel of Progress, even though it could use a little bit of love, if I look at just the foundation for what it is, I think it fits very well into determination and, not looking back. You just got to keep going.
Well, and if you look back to the definition that we shared of the firmness of purpose, I think that's another one that you leave that attraction feeling like you have a purpose that, that there's a better frontier ahead. And like you said, then once you tie in the history of how huge and impactful that attraction was for Walt and the Imagineers, it just adds a whole different layer to it as well.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at the future and, whatever your end goal might be, and then not straying from that. And that's a really hard thing to do because so many things get thrown at you, other people's opinions, maybe cost. We talked about making this possible, like all the things that we wanted to do for Detour took us a long time because cost kind of got in the way. And, there's a lot of other factors that I feel like you could let stop you, or you could just kind of look past them and hone in on what you want to do. And that's very impactful.
Last one on my list is Rafiki's Planet Watch. And I think to me, it hits home purpose of that. You leave Rafiki's Planet Watch. If you've done everything you can do back there, which I actually think it takes you longer than most people realize. There's more to do in normal park operation. Mm-hmm. It's more than petting goats, although that is really fun to pet goats.
Or seeing the chicken.
That is now famous because of Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. But I think Rafiki's Planet Watch encapsulates so much about what we love about Animal Kingdom. I could have went with Maharaja Jungle Trek again, or the Gorilla Falls Trail.
We've said those.
We've said those almost every week. I feel like Rafiki's Planet Watch, you leave there knowing that there are steps that you can apply to your own life to drive home a purpose of conservation and appreciating nature and appreciating the other living beings around you. And I think it absolutely has determination written all over it.
I really like that. I don't think I ever would have come up with that one on my own. And I love Animal Kingdom, but that's like a completely different kind of determination that I would have thought of, I mean, I guess it just goes to show that you can take this one emotion and you can put it into so many different categories, like something like conservation and saving the planet, little things like recycling that you can do, that they really do key in on. So I like that.
So next category is at home. So what are some ways that you can use Disney to drive home determination? So my mind automatically goes to TV and movies. I'm interested to know if you can think of things outside of TV shows and movies, but I'm curious if this is on your list. I think it's the most determined movie you could possibly find is Tangled.
Oh, I know that never even crossed my mind, but that's true. I mean, she has a goal. She wants to see those lanterns. A goal, a dream. Dream sounds more Disney. The goal, I guess, fits with what we're talking about, but she definitely pursues that no matter, like her emotions, the scary things that she's faced, new people that she encounters. And ultimately, that kind of sets her free pun not intended, but there we go. It sets her free. And, she's able to have this life that she never, expected for herself.
I think if you're not inspired to drive home a life purpose after watching Tangled, then you need to do some soul searching, honestly, because I think it just has everything written about it. There is so much stacked against Rapunzel, and she takes so many steps to build out the life that she wants. It makes so many other things seem so small. And to me, it's everything that, like, if you need a kick in the butt, Tangled serves that and more.
Yeah, I like that.
So what's next on your list?
So the one thing that I thought of that does not fall into the movie or TV category is actually like Walt Disney quotes, because I think they are very, drive focused. How can you reach your goal? How can you continue to move on to the next step? How can you make your dreams a reality? And I mean, there's so many good Walt Disney quotes, but the one that came to mind was, of course, the keep moving forward, keep opening doors. And then, of course, as soon as you start saying that quote, you have to think of Meet the Robinsons. So I just kind of tied those two things together because, again, if you think about that movie, so much is stacked up against him. And just having that ability to keep pressing forward, I think that goes hand in hand with determination, because if you just said, this is impossible, all these things are stacked up against me, I have no hope, or whatever it might be, then, you would just give up. But I think that movie is all about pushing and pushing and pushing. And again, I think putting those people in your corner who are going to help you get there, I think that's a big part of it too. So, I mean, we can definitely tie that into like Detour.
Is Meet the Robinsons the most underrated Disney movie of all time?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I haven't even seen it all the way through in a couple years, and I know that it's just such a hidden gem.
It really is. And I don't know if it's undervalued because maybe, like the general public didn't get that it's just like, it's Walt. It's everything that Walt preached. But like big Disney nerds like us can appreciate that. Like this would be Walt's movie. Like this is exactly what he felt and did and thought. So if you haven't watched Meet the Robinsons, you need to go onto Disney Plus and you need to do yourself a favor and go watch it, because I do think after watching it, you'll feel very determined to either like seek out your purpose, maybe if you don't know what it is, or to continue to push forward in making that a reality.
So speaking of Walt, we did an episode with Monorail Radio a while ago talking about the movies that we'd want to show Walt.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember what my number one answer was?
Oh, way to put me on the spot. No. What was it?
Princess and the Frog.
Oh, duh.
And I think that falls into this category as well, about Tiana finding her purpose and knowing that there was something so much more for her. I mean, even the music, and we'll get to that in the car, series, but even the music of Princess and the Frog is all about determination, a firmness of purpose. That's just what I keep coming back to. And Tiana never wavers from who she is and what she's supposed to be. So again, it's the same. If you watch Princess and the Frog and you don't feel like you're ready to conquer the world after, I mean, that's what I get out of it. Yeah.
No, that's a really good one. And that's, again, like Tangled. I feel like that hits the nail on the head, but I never thought of that. So props to you. So the last one that I came up with, and you might have more on your list, but for me, the last one I came up with, and we mention it probably every week because I feel like it does such a good job on hitting on every emotion all the time, but Disney Plus documentaries. I don't know what it is about them, but they're incredible. And I'll probably rewatch them once we get a little farther past, watching them the first time. But for me, like the Frozen 2 documentary, I don't know exactly. I can't remember what it's called. Just like
To the Unknown, Making of Frozen 2.
There we go. Just seeing how many things they had to try again, redo, figure out to kind of piece everything together. I feel like oftentimes that's how I feel sometimes when I'm working towards a goal. It's like, I know what my end result is going to be. Like, I know what I'm trying to do, but it often feels like I'm just like randomly piecing things together, and it's kind of chaotic and it's a little confusing, but then the outcome is exactly what you had hoped for. And, sometimes it even surpasses what you had anticipated. And I think that documentary, I mean, it kind of left us a little bit confused, but it also did instill that, like, okay, you might not know exactly where you're headed, but if you have, an idea or a goal, it's possible.
Well, that's such an interesting one to bring up because, like you said, we have a lot of mixed feelings on that documentary. I think it does hit on determination. To me, there's almost a level of comfort of knowing that these professionals and people that we trust with our entertainment so much are a lot of times just as lost as we are, and just like lost worse than last year's Easter egg. And there's value in seeing that in these people that then still go out and create something beautiful in the end, that there's beauty in the struggle, I guess would be what you would say.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, to me, the best part about these documentaries is there are these people that we just almost idolize because, we just admire what they do so much. The Sherman Brothers, you just admire the music and you recognize the beauty, but I think it's really impactful to watch that, productive struggle, those different failures, because I feel like as a society, you want everything to be Instagram perfect, picture perfect. And it's so refreshing to see, like you said, these people that we admire and, trust with Disney, I guess, to literally watch them fail and have to pick up the pieces and try again and work against deadlines. It's like, wow, that's what I do all the time, and it's refreshing. And I do think it kind of leaves it with like, okay, if they can figure it out, so can I.
I still have so many weird thoughts about that documentary. If you have weird thoughts about them, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to have a conversation about that because I'm still torn about whether I enjoyed that or not. But I have one more in the at home category.
Okay.
And I was hesitant to put this in there because it draws out a lot of emotions. But I do think Determination is one of them. And it's a Pixar short, which is 99.9% guaranteed to make you cry.
Oh.
100% of the time, every time.
Every time. Yeah. Without a doubt.
And it is a new one. And I'm hoping a lot of people have seen it, and it's Out. Do you remember that one?
Oh, I do, because you see the clip art and you expect one thing. And then, like all of those Pixar shorts, it's something completely different, which is fun. But it makes you think and it throws you for a loop.
So again, I think it's one of those that there's beauty in the struggle, and especially that one where you're seeing this huge monumental moment in the character's life of something that has been built up for years and years and years. And you are seeing the exact moment when it has to unfold. Something's got to give. And I think if you don't watch that and then see that you can make changes or progress in your life, it's, I think it's one of the most beautiful ones that Pixar has ever made. It's one that I don't necessarily want to press play on very often because it is going to leave you into a puddle.
Yeah.
But the message that it shares is just absolutely unreal.
Yeah, I like that. I think you can definitely parallel that short to a lot of different situations, finding that acceptance for, whatever it might be. But finding that acceptance and then getting it after kind of building it up in your head that you're not going to be accepted. I think, that definitely kind of fits with determination and, I'm going to do whatever I can to make it happen. And again, I think that's a good one. That's one, again, that I never would have thought of. Well, it's a good job.
And to take it a step further, I think that to me, a big problem with determination is always I'm getting in my own way. I'm creating these false walls in my own, stopping me from my own goals. And Out portrays that so well in that, his parents were accepting the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
He was expecting them to not be accepting, but they loved him regardless the entire time. And to me, I think that's so symbolic of that. A lot of times you are creating your own obstacles. And a lot of times you just got to get out of your own way and understand that it's going to work out in the end. And so I think that's determination, among many other things.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of emotions that you could apply to these, but that's good.
All right. In the car.
Okay. So I have 2 songs.
Maybe you say in your ears. Then it's not just in the car.
Okay. Well,
audio focused.
So something that you can just turn on and get those feelings. These are probably my 2 favorite Disney songs ever. So that's it. I actually made one of these my ringtone to try to wake up in the morning. It didn't help the wake up process, but I tried really hard. It made me determined to wake up. But the first one that I picked was I'll Make a Man of You from Mulan. And I think if you look at the context of the movie and kind of the situation of what's happening, all of these guys plus Mulan are thrown into this impossible situation where it doesn't ever look like they are going to be good soldiers. And, throughout this song, just going through the motions and, continuing to train every day, continuing to try and not give up, especially Mulan at the end where she reaches the top, which no one else was able to do. It just kind of going through that process, even though you might not ever think you're going to reach the end goal, but you are just, sometimes you're just going through the motions. Sometimes it's just, you are waking up, you are going to training or you're going to work or whatever it might be, and you're going to get it done. But then at the end, it's greater than you anticipated. It's a better outcome. And, it's just, you didn't give up.
So the animated Mulan probably could have fallen into the at-home category as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. I'll Make a Man Out of You it's just fantastic.
Plus it's catchy. Like you can sing along. There's so many good things about it.
You have to karate chop while you're listening to it.
You have to dance in some capacity.
My next one is Try Everything by world-renowned artist Shakira.
Why did you throw that in there? That wasn't true.
I'm just a big Shakira fan.
Oh, okay.
You're not?
No, I am. I like Shakira.
But I think Try Everything, it's just one of those things that knocks down walls. And it allows you to drive forward the way that you're supposed to. And so for me, I started with Disney running playlist, and then I picked out particular songs that were on there because they get you pumped up and they get you ready to go and to find your purpose. But Try Everything, I think, is just one of those that no matter when you listen to it, you feel like you're ready to get to work.
Yeah, that's a good one. So the last one I feel like is the most maybe stereotypical answer that you could give for this category, but it just fits so well. I just couldn't, I couldn't not say it, but it's Go the Distance from Hercules.
You stole it from me.
I know.
I almost said it first.
I was halfway expecting you to, not gonna lie, but I just feel like, Hercules is so lost at the beginning of that movie. He doesn't know who he is. He feels completely out of place and just lost. And, just having that hope of, I'm going to make it through this. I'm going to find my purpose. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to that end result. And even just the way that the song builds, it starts very slow and just very quiet. And then by the end, it's belting. And I feel like that kind of fits with the process of, determination and finding that focus, then finding the purpose, and then running towards the end goal once you've almost reached it, you're just so excited. So I think that song just perfectly fits.
I don't know, man. Firmness of purpose is really hitting me different today. feel like I need a tattoo that says firmness of purpose. And Go the Distance definitely does that. I mean, it's the turning point for Hercules saying that I will do whatever it is I have to do to find my purpose and to find my way, and knowing that there is a better end result at the very end of all of this.
Well, and just knowing that you can find a place where you belong and you feel fulfilled, you know, and that you don't just have to kind of stay in this rut in a place where you're unhappy, but, you know, I can push through and find something better.
So I'd be remiss if I did not throw in a couple of non-Disney options of things that provide me a lot of determination. You look very surprised.
Yeah, you've piqued my interest.
You didn't prepare any non-Disney options?
I did not.
Okay, so determination was really big for me because my story, you know, when I was working all these jobs that I, you know, struggled to get out of bed in the morning to do, podcasts were like the number one thing that I leaned on. That I knew if I found like 3 2-hour podcasts and sandwich a lunch break in there, that would get me through almost my entire day of what I needed to do. And so I kind of broke them into different categories where I had professional or like business minded podcasts that would help me lay that foundational work to do things like this, to get something that we're building off the ground. And then I also had personal development style ones where like, I need to work on my mental game, you know, like both of those. So I have one for each. The business minded one is EO Fire by John Lee Dumas, which is probably the most free advertised podcast in the history of existence because I've mentioned it so many times on here.
Yeah, you do love that one.
Changed my life forever hearing other entrepreneurs' stories of how they got going and understanding that a lot of people feel that way, that they're looking for that fulfillment was pivotal for me. So EO Fire is a big one. And then the other one for me was You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes, which on the surface is not very determination driven. It's silly. They talk about crazy things. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of that, you know, finding your purpose, that it's okay to struggle and it's okay to question things and to figure that out along the way. So I think just hearing people's stories, I sometimes wish that it wasn't with celebrities because I think that adds an element of disconnect, but it's also reassuring to hear that these people who find ultra mega success still struggle in the day-to-day of finding their purpose. So what do you think? Do you like those?
Yeah, those are good. I mean, even though I've never listened to either one of those, I mean, it gives me feelings of like what I get from watching Imagineering Story or any of those documentaries from Disney Plus, just because, I mean, I feel like it's kind of along the same lines.
Yep. So anything else that you want to add for determination for this week's episode?
I did actually think of something. So I guess this can be my honorable mention, but I feel like if we were to pick like a character that has a lot of determination, someone that came to mind would be Woody from Toy Story, because I feel like for all the movies that we recognize.
Yeah, I was about Toy Story 4 Woody.
No, we don't talk about what Toy Story 4. In Toy Story 1 through 3, he is so determined to, you know, help his friends, save his friends, you know, kind of save the day, you know, save them from Sid, whatever it might be. And I feel like, you know, his love for his friends kind of is what drives him, you know, like that's his motivation behind being so like determined, gung ho, like I can do this. So I think that's an interesting one.
Well, and above all, I think you know that Woody knows his purpose. Woody knows that his purpose is to protect both Andy or Gabby. No, her name's not Gabby.
Yeah, we're Andy, Brendan.
Andy.
We are team Andy.
Well, Toy Story 3 included the other girl. Now I can't remember what her name is.
I can't either.
But anyway, Woody is a protector. Like he knows what his purpose is, and he has found that out over time, and he sticks true to that, except in Toy Story 4. But that's a discussion for another day. Can you think of any other characters? The one that Luke Skywalker, to me, I mean, he struggles so much, but he knows that his purpose is so much more. I mean, he knew it as, you could even throw Anakin in that category, that Anakin knew that he was destined for something bigger. He happened to take the wrong path to get there, but both of them, knew that their lives had a greater impact than what it seemed at the surface.
Yeah. I mean, I can't argue with either one of those. That's all I came up with on the spot. But I'm sure there's more. So if you can think of any, we'd love to hear them in the comments, kind of what or who maybe helps you with determination.
So I think that's going to be it for this episode. We hope you guys have enjoyed listening to episode 229, I think, 28.
28?
I remembered at the beginning of the episode. I forgot it now. If you are joining us on YouTube, we'd love it if you would subscribe, leave a like down below, leave a comment. We'd love to continue that discussion. If you're listening on podcast, an iTunes review always goes the best to helping us grow the show, helping more people find us. So hope you are having a wonderful Monday. We will be back on Wednesday to continue our storytelling series. We're talking about the seas with Nemo and friends.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun one because we're big fans of the seas now. Never have been, now we are. So we're excited for that, and we sure hope you can join us.